Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I have a really quick little project for you using Country Craft Creations exclusive 8x8 Gentleman Fleur paper collection that you can order from their online shop. 3 pieces of cardstock, Artisan cardstock, and then some other elements from Tim Holtz. This is a really cute little Steampunk Father's Day mini album. Has a magnetic closure. It just flips out like this. And I have a tutorial following shortly. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and give me a couple of thumbs up, and check out countrycraftcreations.com. So let's get started on the tutorial. For this little mini album, I'm going to be using the Country Craft Creations Gentleman Fleur 8x8 paper collection. So we have all these wonderful brown tone papers with a little bit of blue and pink in there, but not too much pink because we're going to make this masculine for Father's Day. So this is going to be more of a steampunk vibe album, and it's going to be really simple and easy to make. I also have my Tim Holtz items that I got in my design team package that I will be using: the snippets, the gauge dials, and also these metal quote seals. I think these are really awesome, and we'll use some of those in the project as well. And then for the pages and the cover, it's all going to be made out of cardstock. So I'm using the brown Artisan cardstock. You need 3 sheets. Artisan is the best weight. You won't have any problems with cracking. And then for contrast, I'm going to pull in some craft, so I use 1 sheet of craft. So let's get started. I have pre-cut my cardstock, and I will give you the measurements in just a second here, and you can jot those down. I may have a cutting guide. If I do, there'll be a link down below. Otherwise, just feel free to grab your notepad and take notes. This is a remake of a project that I did as a Graphic 45 brand ambassador probably 4 years ago or so. There was never a video done on this one. It was a snap guide, and those are no longer easily found on the internet. So I thought I would remake this so that we'd have a video of it on how to make this. It's really easy and fun to make, and I think you'll enjoy it. So to start out with, we're going to make our cover is actually made out of the cardstock as well as the pages. So you first need to cut for your cover the brown cardstock, cut 4 that are 4.5 by 5.5. And what we're going to do, we're going to glue 2 together to make a front and back cover. Now, if you wanted to use lightweight chipboard, you certainly could, but the idea of this project is to just make it out of cardstock so that you don't have to have a whole lot of supplies. You know, if you don't have chipboard, and you don't have a cutter for that, the lightweight you can cut with your regular trimmer with a blade that you don't use on your regular paper. But this one, I wanted to show you how you can make this, including the cover, with just cardstock. So you glue them together. Now make sure you're lining it up nice and even on all the sides. And let's give that a burnish. I like to burnish with my hands, and I'm looking right there, and I did slip a little bit, and I don't like that. I want to make sure that it is totally even. I thought that I had it even, so I'm just going to reline it up on all the sides before my glue dries. Make sure and double check all the way around. Make sure that you cut them out the same. Sometimes that can be the problem. So you just want to burnish those together, and you go ahead and do that for the other piece as well. So I'm going to put my glue on. I am using the Art Glitter Glue from Country Craft Creations. This is my favorite adhesive. You could use score tape for this if you wanted to. So I'm going to, again, line this up, making sure. Now, if you put this in your scoreboard and use that as a buffer, it might be a little easier for you to make sure they line up. So that one looks good. I'm going to burnish that. So that's the double thickness. Now then, out of the craft cardstock, I cut a mat. Cut 2 of these that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. And what these are going to do, you're going to glue these right on the center on one side only. So this is like the front and the back of your cover. So we'll be adding pattern paper later, but for now we're just going to put our craft mat on. We're going to go ahead and do that. So we're just going to center this. So we have about the same amount of border showing all the way around, top and bottom. Okay, so we'll just set these aside for now. These are our covers, and we'll do the same on this one. We're going to put this one on as well. Okay, center that on there. I never get them on perfectly centered, but pretty close, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about it too terribly much, so it looks fine like that. So now we're going to set that aside and let those dry. Okay, so that's our cover. So that ends up being actually 3 thicknesses of cardstock. Next, for our pages, you need to cut 2 that are 5 by 12, and now we're going to need our scoreboard. So let's grab that. And we're going to put this in with the 12-inch at the top. And we're going to score at 4 and at 8 on both pieces. 12 inches at the top, score at 4 and 8. Now, what this is it makes a set of pages, double sets, one on one side, one on the other. And you'll see what I mean as we're getting into that. So I'm just going to fold these up for now and burnish. And if we need to reverse them, we will. I'm going to set those aside over there. Fold this one up. And then next we're going to make our hinge. Now this is not your traditional hinge. You're going to say, that's not a hinge. But it is what binds the book together, the pages and the covers together. So it'll make sense once you get it going. This is a little bit different from a traditional album, but it is a lot of fun to make. So for your hinge, out of the brown cardstock, I cut one piece that's 5 by 8 1/2. And you're going to put your 8 1/2 inch side in at the top, and we're going to score at 4 and 4 1/2. So this does make a hinge. It's just that it's a really wide hinge, and it does make the spine here in the middle. So we just fold and burnish those. And set that aside. Then the last piece that we need out of scraps, cut from the brown, cut one that is 3 3/4 by 1 3/4. This is for a closure piece, and then we're going to need 2 of the craft, also out of the scrap, 3 1/2 by 1 1/2. So that is all that we need to make this album, and now we're ready to assemble it. Take your little hinge piece, that you have your 1/2 inch here. We're going to put glue on just one side. Do not put any glue in the 1/2 inch section. So we're just going to put glue here on this side here, and we're going to put our page, one of our page sets in. So I've got the glue here. Take your folded up pages. You're going to attach just this section here to this section of the hinge. So make sure you line up the cut edge here right along the fold, and then make sure everything lines up top and bottom. And flip it over and burnish. Okay, so we have it this side. So there's our 1/2 inch right there. Here is a page set right here. Of course, you can flip it around and fold it in different ways. We'll decide that later. I'm going to take a clip and I'm going to clip this together. Apply your glue to the other page set and align this up so that the cut edge goes along the fold of your little hinge, making sure to line it up. Oops, I got glue on my finger. Top and bottom, and burnish that in. So we still have our 1/2 inch piece here in the middle, and we have our page here. Okay, that glue looks really bad there where I got on my fingers, but it'll work out. So this folds in like this, like that, and so you end up having your 1/2 inch. So you can reverse the way it folds, but this is how your spine is here on the outside, the 1/2 inch, and your pages are on the inside. So now we're ready to put the cover on. So this is how I'm going to fold mine up. Here's my 1/2 inch right here. I have the one that's glued on, and I'm going to fold this one in and then this one in. The last one folds in and then in. So it looks like this when it's folded. Now we're ready to do the cover. So take your first cover and take a pencil and your ruler, and we're going to draw a 1/4 inch line on the bottom. So I'm using my Tim Holtz ruler. If I put line it up straight, put the 1/4 inch line here, so then I can just draw the line right here on the bottom like that. So there we have that. And we take the other one. We're going to do the same thing. Line it up. Make sure it's lined up and draw a line. Okay, so there we have that. So now we're ready. Take your glue and put it on one side of your pages here, or actually it's on your hinge piece. Go ahead and put glue on this. Okay, then you're going to take it and make sure that the little 1/2 inch hinge here is butted up to the edge of this hinge here, of this cover piece here. And you're going to position this right against the edge and along the 1/4 inch. So what you're wanting is a 1/4 inch at the top and at the bottom, and you'll have a 1/2 inch over here on this side. You want this flush on this back side. And then go ahead and burnish that in. Okay. Then you're going to put glue on this piece. You take your other cover, and this time you're going to make sure, so I need to erase this more here. Okay, you're going to make sure that you're flush here with the hinge. Line these up, and it should fit in correctly about 1/4 inch here and here. So then open it up and burnish. So that is the cover on with your pages inside. Okay, and I know this looks a little messed up because I had to move it, but we're going to cover that with patterned paper. So that is the album put together. Next, we're going to put a small magnet. If you have the basic gray ones that you can get from Country Craft Creations, peel the backing off and position your little magnet in the center about 3/4 inch from the edge. So I have mine here, and I am going to put tape over it to secure it. Okay, now I have cut my pattern paper. We're using the 8x8, so you can cut your front and back from one sheet. So this is from one sheet. I really like this one with the partial gauge on it, and this piece here and the flowers. So these are cut at 4 wide by 5 tall. And if you're going to do any inking, let's see here, we have, I'm going to use the archival coffee that I got from Country Craft Creations. And I'm going to grab my brush, and I'm just going to ink the edges real quick, trying to give them a little more steampunk vintage vibe here, like that. And so this is going to glue right over that magnet. Okay, so I'll put the glue on the back side. And I'm going to flatten this down some, and then I'm just going to center it and burnish that down. Now we have the magnet here on the front. This is the front side. Now we can flip this over, and we go ahead and put the one on the back. So I'm using the bigger part of the gauge here. So I'm going to ink the edges on this one. Okay, and then that's going to glue there. So I'm going to open that one up. And center it. Okay, now then, here in this piece here, this is a 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to cut a piece to go in here, and it's going to be only 3/8 of an inch wide. Normally I would wait and do that with scraps, but I'm going to go ahead and cut off the edge of this one here. So back it off about 1/8 of an inch from your 1/2 inch mark. Make sure you've lined it up straight and just cut. So it's a narrow piece here, and then we just want it to fit right in here. So that needs to be about, let's do 4 3/4. 4 3/4 here. And I'll put a little ink on it as well. Can't really see it that much, but I'm going to go ahead and ink it just in case. And then we're going to put glue on the back side. And fit that in between here. So I'm going to fold up my pages so I can get in there a little bit better, so we can see the whole 1/2 inch, and center it in there like that. Oops. Right there, and burnish that in. So that finishes off that little spine there. And you can also do the same on the inside, right in here. So I'm going to do that later. I'm going to go ahead and work on my closure piece right now. So we have this piece that we cut that is 3 3/4 by 1 3/4, and the 2 craft ones that are 3 1/2 by 1 1/2. And we're going to do like we did on the cover. We're going to glue craft on both sides of the brown. Just like this. Kind of center that. Flip it over and do the other side. Now on the front side, we can go ahead and cut a paper that's going to be our piece that goes on the front. And I think I want this section right in here. So this was 1.5, so 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. So 1 1/4 tall. And 3 1/4 wide. And we're going to ink that. See, I wanted this piece here with some of the weathered looking washed out stuff in the lettering. So that's going to glue right here on the front side. Just center it just like that. And then we need the same size for the back, but we need to put our magnet on first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble this, and then I'm going to wait until I have all my pages patterned before I actually put this on, I believe. So I'm going to cut my pattern paper that's 3 1/4. I'm not sticking it on yet until I have my magnet. Well, maybe we can go ahead and put the magnet on. So I'm going to go ahead and put this magnet here, just to kind of get a position of where I want this. I'll put some glue there. I'll mark it with some glue. This is what you do when you don't have the peelings, the magnets that peel the backing off. So I'll make sure I've got the right direction here. I'm going to lay this, center it over it, press, and I'm just going to let that dry for a bit. Set this aside. I'm going to go ahead and ink it so I know it's ready. And then I will set it aside. Once the magnet's dried, then I'll be ready to put that on. Okay, so the magnet's dried. I put a little tape over it, and this piece of paper here is going to go over that. Now this is going to attach to the back of the book. So I'm going to bring my pattern paper further over on the magnet to make sure that it's covered up, and just decide which direction you want this to go, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on this, but I am not attaching my closure piece on until I've finished up on the inside. So I'm just getting it put together and getting it ready to attach on once the book is all together. So now I've got my magnet covered, and that's going to attach here on the front, and then this is going to wrap around towards the back. Okay, so we're going to set this aside, and then we're going to go ahead and cut paper and get everything ready for the inside. Now for these pages, they are 4 by 5, so you're going to want to cut your papers probably 3 7/8, because I'm not going to put as big a margin on. 3 7/8 by 4 7/8. So I'm going to pick out all my pattern papers that I want to go in here and go ahead and glue them down, because any pockets and belly bands we make, we're doing with pattern paper after we've done that. So go ahead, pick out all your pattern paper from the collection, cut it down to 3 7/8 wide by 4 7/8 tall, and glue those on to each page, front and back. Okay, I've played around with this. I picked out my papers and patterned all my pages. I'll just go over them with you, what I did. With the 8 by 8, let me find this one here so I can show you. So the 8 by 8, you look at your pattern. So I knew that I wanted this image and this image here on the front, but I reversed it. I put him over here and the plane over there. Why? I don't know. So I cut the height first, which is the 4 7/8. Yeah. I cut the 4 7/8 first, and then I looked at the image here. I cut from this side and cut my 3 7/8, and then the 3 7/8 again. So there's just a little sliver gone off of this page. So this is what you see when you open it up. I did put a little piece here in the middle that's 3/8 wide by the height. Oops. And then when you open this, I wanted these to be continuous of the papers. So here is your dirigible. That's what I call it. Is that what y'all call it? I'll have to look up that word and see what that means, because that's what I call it. So here on this one, I cut from, because I wanted this, I cut from the top the 4 7/8. Then I cut from this left side the 3 7/8. And then, let's see, I think I cut from this side. Cut from this side your 3 7/8, because you don't want to cut off the end, the nose piece. And glue that on. See how that matches up. And then the sliver is cut off of here. But this continues. And on this one with the pocket watch, my papers are everywhere. It's okay. So the pocket watch, the same kind of thing. You look at your image and decide. So from the top down, I did the 4 7/8, and I cut 3 7/8 and then 3 7/8. So I cut off a little bit here on the side. And I love how when you're looking at the pages open, that it's just a continuous imaging here. Now then when these fold out, they become a little bit different. This one is continuous, so I did the same thing. I planned out where I did my cuts. But this one, I wanted the bike, but not so much. Let me see. Find it. Okay. I wanted the bike, but where it's positioned, there wasn't enough to finish this side. But I didn't want to cut up the bike. Does that make sense? So you'll see here, I cut more here, right in here, and did my 3 7/8 over. So I just did the flip side. And I still like how that looks. Okay, so that's how you do that. And then I decided I did want some paper here. So these are less than 1/4 inch strips here at the top and bottom of the inside cover. Now, if I had thought ahead of time, you could cover that section, or at least part of it, before you put your pages in. But I kind of like the little bit of bordering around it. So either way works. So that folds up. This is a fun, simple little album. And of course I have that 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch here on the back of this 1/2 inch spine. So now I'm ready to start putting things in. I'm going to take some of my scraps that we have. We're going to make belly bands. You can play with it any way you want. Make some pockets. I really hate covering up some of these images though. You know what I mean? But like here, I can make me a flat pocket with part of this and not lose this up here. I can trim this down a little bit. I lose this here, but I'm still gaining these flowers here. So look at it that way. I'm going to look it over, see what I want to do. I have a lot of these gauges and things, like, you know, if you don't want to lose this image, you can build this up with some of the gauges. Some of the little pieces here I have. One of these, how would this work in here? Let me see. Life itself is the most wonderful story, and this is something about dreams. For I am the dreamer, life is the dream. So see something like that maybe. Let's see how it looks folded up. I think it would still work. Okay, so I'm going to play around with some of these, decide where some are going to go, maybe get a little organized. I don't know. We'll see what I can do, and then I'll be pop back in. I've gone through my scraps and did a little cutting, trimming down, and I'll show you what all I've done. And I looked it up. I say dirigible. It's supposed to be dirigible. It's a blimp, okay? But anyway, that's what we got there, is a steampunk looking blimp. So I had to get myself straightened up on that and hear how it's really supposed to be said. You know, it's like tomato, tomato, whatever. Okay, so I have pulled out some of my metal gears, some keys with more steampunk looking gears and some metal things here. I don't know if I'll use them. And I've got all these Tim Holtz ones here in the little sayings. So got things clipped down, I think where I want them. So what I did is I cut out 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares of some of my scraps, and then did an angle cut to make these little angle pockets, and then cut cardstock to mat, because I do want some tuck spots, but I don't want to cover up a whole lot of the paper, because I really love the images. So this one here, I picked the same flower that's here in this corner. So I'm going to mat this down to the cardstock triangle, and we're going to make a pocket type tuck spot triangle corner one. So just put that there, and then of course we're going to put on the two shorter sides a little bit of glue, trying to not get real thick. I don't have a fine tip pen on because I get frustrated with them when they clog up, and I kind of like my glue to be coming out pretty easy, but have to be real careful. It could come out too much. So put that here in the corner, burnished it down with my fingers, and then I cut out a square out of some of my scraps. So this one is 3 by 3, and I'm going to go ahead and round the corners, and I'm going to use the 1/4 inch on these. This is just a little photo mat that I'm going to tuck up under there like that. And so when you take it out, you know, you can still see the blimp and everything really fine there. So that's that one on that side. So I'll open this up, and then here I found this scrap, and I'm going to make a tag and a pocket. So this is the excuse me, the diluted, the B side of the paper. To brighten that up, I pulled this one up here. It's got the collar, a little bit of other stuff in here, and I'm going to grab what size is this? A 1 inch circle punch, and I'm just going to put a little thumb notch right here in the center of this pocket, and let's ink that up a little bit. I didn't ink that other one. That's okay. So I'm just going to put some ink in here, just like that. Kind of ink that notch in the edges of the pocket. Now these are just going to be flat. I'm not putting them on cardstock. I'm just going to keep them just the patterned paper. So I cut this to fit. This is the 3 7/8 wide, and the pocket was a scrap. I trimmed it down to just about 2 3/8, just whatever your scrap is. Trim it down to what you want to see, how much you don't want to cover up on your page, and on things like that. So glue this down here at the bottom. So I put glue on the bottom edge, then line of glue on each side, and then I have this scrap of cardstock that's about 2 inches by 3 3/4, and I'm going to do the slant at the top angle. I'll use my angle punch. So 2 corners on the top at the angle, and then 1/4 inch on the 2 bottom corners. And then this piece of pattern paper I cut to fit on there. I wanted the wording, so it's just, you know, like 1/4 inch smaller both directions. So we're going to angle the top. Pay attention to the direction, and then corner around the two bottom corners. Make sure you're doing the size you want. And this is going to glue right here on top. Okay. The trick to using your glue without the fine tip is don't squeeze really very much. It comes out pretty easy with the larger nozzle on there. I do have to clean that out sometimes. So now this goes in this pocket like that. And I'm thinking of putting something styles of 1900, or let's see what else we've got. Number more with the beigey looking. Maximum 3600 RPM. And the rooster's here today. Happy December 1943, 11 December 1943. I don't know if I want that there or maybe somewhere down in here. I'm going to put that in there. So I just want to add little snippets here and there, you know, to kind of add to it a little bit of layering here, kind of like that. And up here, I was thinking of putting metal like that. So I'm going to use my glue. This is from a stash. I don't know what it is. It's a little metal clock charm. I'm not going to use it as a charm. I'm just going to take my art glitter glue and I'm going to glue the clock part to the top of my tag like that. And then that leaves the little charm thing piece sticking up. So you could put a piece of ribbon or twine in there if you wanted to. Just make sure it stays on there straight. And then we're going to let that dry. Okay, so that's that one for right now. If I want any kind of gears in here, kind of like that, kind of brighten that up a little bit back in there. So yeah, I think I'm going to glue that one on there. So put some glue on the back. These are nice and flat, so they work really good in an album that you don't want to get real thick. So I'm not putting anything here on the bike. I'm going to let that dry and fold that down. And as far as this with the blimp, make sure I'm not using the same gears. I'm going to put something like that right there. Okay, kind of like that. And then let's look at these sayings here. What do we got? Something like that. So just play around with it, add this and that you might have, or you've picked up at the shop at Country Craft Creations, kind of like that. So now on this, kind of what 1907 model. I want that on the photo mat. I'm just going to put a little bit right on the edge, just a touch of glue. That way a photo can be tucked in behind there a little bit, so do that like that. Okay, so on this side is another one of those triangles. So it's the same thing. With the pattern was 2.5, you know, 2.5, and I cut it at an angle to make the pattern piece, and then cut the chipboard, cut the cardstock mat around it to fit. So this is going to go here in the corner, so I'm not covering up my pocket watch. So again, the two shortest sides, and I forgot to ink that paper again, but that's okay. I get carried away and I forget to ink, because sometimes I don't ink. So anyway, just line this up like that. So we have that pocket there. Now with this brush thing here, you can kind of go along and ink after the fact a little bit, especially when you're doing steampunk, because it's okay if it is like, you know, on part of it. Like that. Okay. So then again, I'm going to 1/4 inch corner around the photo mat, same size as the other one, a 3 by 3. And that's just going to tuck in there. Now, of course, it does hide the pocket watch for right now. And I really like this one here. So I'm thinking I'm going to put that there. And then another little bit of something from all these little bits and pieces. Arrive at 9 p.m. I like that. So I'm going to glue that here on the bottom. And then I'm going to glue this metal pocket watch here. So the glue goes on the back. Now these may be from Tim Holtz. I honestly don't remember because I've had these for a while. So I'm just going to let that dry right there. And I'm not going to put anything on this photo mat right now. So then when you pull that out, you put that one in the background and there like that. Okay, so next, this side is another pocket, but I'm going to put it up higher. I'll show you why in just a second here. I'm going to make a little booklet. So this is scrap. These are, I don't know what you call them. Anyway, very steampunk looking, and I thought, oh, that makes a cool piece. That's scrap. But I wanted this pretty flowers here to show. So I'm going to put this pocket a little higher. I cut it to the 3 7/8 wide, and this piece, I cut it down just to get these. There was more to the scrap. So this is about 1 1/2. And then I'm going to take this punch. Now I don't want as deep as a notch. So I'm just going to do a very shallow notch so as not to cut away any of the image. Okay, let's ink this. Let's make sure we get this inked. Okay, so we're going to take our glue on the 2 short sides and then across the bottom, which is opposite the notch that I did, and we just center this above that rose, kind of right there. Okay, there, and I hope my booklet's not too big. I think it's going to work. Let that dry. So I made this booklet out of scrap of the cardstock, and it is 5 inches by 2 7/8. I'm see, make sure it fits. It needs trimmed down some. Let me move all this out of the way. I'm going to make the height of it about 2 1/2. Okay, and then you fold it in half, the lengthwise in half. And then I have 2 scraps of paper, so I'm going to have to cut these down some. So that was 2 1/2. Let's make these 2 3/8. See if that works. Yeah. So I had 2 pieces of paper, so 2 3/8 on both of those. Because I want one on the front, one on the back. I'm going to pick the rose one. Get some ink. So this makes just a little photo booklet. Let me glue this on the front. Right here. And then flip it over and glue one on the back. I think I wanted more of the wording, so. Turn it to the right direction. There we go. And center that pretty well. So there's a little booklet there. And that tucks into this pocket. So see, when I cut it down, it made it fit better. And then on this, be careful, I don't want it hanging. Thought I would put a little gear. These are pretty flat that I have. I don't know where I got them. Either on the booklet or here. I'm going to put it right there. So put some glue on this. And I'm just going to lay it. Well, that's going to put it too close to that. I'm going to lay it up here. And just kind of let that dry right there like that. So let's let everything dry, and then I'll come back and see what else I want to do. All these gears are a lot of fun. Let's see here. Put one there or not. I think I'm just going to attach it at the top. A little bit of glue at the top. Whoops. Let me say whoops. Let me wipe that off. That was not the top of it. Had my numbers upside down. So pay attention. A little bit at the top. And then put that right there. And so it's only attached at the top. That's that one. 4. What's this one? I don't know what it is, but I like it. Maybe I want it over here on this other side. Yeah, I'm going to put it right there. No rhyme, no reason, just putting stuff here and there. Okay, it doesn't have to be straight, so I just kind of turned it at an angle. Okay, so this is going to be a really simple little steampunk Father's Day type book. And I haven't done anything in here, so I'll decide if I want to do something there or not. But that's pretty much the inside, I think. I haven't done anything here on the front. So I'll think about that, and then we'll see. Now, yes, it kind of pops up. That's the way it is. This holds it down like this, and of course, we have our closure. So that's it so far. So I'll be back, pop back in just a little bit with some more details. For this section in here, I decided to take this scrap and cut it down to about 3 1/4 by 2 7/8, and then I stub punch. I have a stub punch. Where's it? Right here. I managed to stub punch the pattern paper. Oh, that's the angle. That's the wrong one. Oh yeah, I have it here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Stub. It says stub punch. It does this inverted corner rounding, and I matted it to cardstock and stub punched that. And then I added this bits from the Tim Holtz stuff, and I'm going to glue it here just at the top, and I'm going to put it to the side of this image here, and then it will be a tuck spot for a possible photo or whatever you want to put. So you just put glue on the top edge, and I'm going to line it up about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, so it's not hanging when it folds, and line it up against the top and burnish that down. So that makes a nice tuck spot under there like that. And then I remembered that I do want to put something here, perhaps, so I'm going to do that next. Okay, so I've been looking it over, and I think this is what I'm going to do for these 2 pages when you open up the book. I'm going to use these 2 metal things here on the inside. It helps a little bit to hold it down, but I'm going to place them so that they're not opposite each other, so they don't get stuck on each other. Does that make sense? So what I've done here for this side is I've cut some of the brown cardstock for both of them. That's about 3/4 inch wide by the 3 7/8. And then a smaller piece of just a scrap of the patterned paper, so it's the same length, 3 7/8, but it's only 5/8. 5/8 tall. So just take my glue mat this onto the cardstock. Okay, so they're the same length, just different heights, widths. So I can get my border, just trying to get it on there straight. Okay, that's better, I think. Okay, now then, the decision is, do I want to make it belly bands or just glue it on? I'm going to go ahead and do belly band. If I want to slide a photo under there, I can. Just leaving that option open. I'm not going to put one there. So I'm going to lay this right in here. Make sure it's straight. So I've glued each end. And then I'm going to put this, I think I'll put it here. Okay, on this end where the opening is. These are nice and smooth on the back. So the art glitter glue should work great. I use art glitter glue just about on everything. So I'm going to have to let it kind of grab though. It's going to slide around. I'm going to put my scissors under there to kind of keep it from tipping down. Then I pick this little snippet here and I'm going to glue it on. Make sure it's not upside down. And kind of put it right there like a little label. Okay, and this one up here, we're going to do the same thing. So let's layer this up. And after we finish this, then we'll be ready, I think, to work on the cover and the closure piece. We still got to finish our closure piece. Now we already had the magnet on the front side. And we put the magnet in the closure piece. I believe I did that on camera. I hope I did. And I'll show you how to attach it on the cover. So the reason I waited is to see how much thickness goes into the book here on the inside. So this is going to be a little different because I don't want to cover him up. So it's up a little higher, but I'm okay with that. Just make sure it's straight. Kind of like at the top of his head. And then this one's going to glue here. So I've glued this one on, and then I have this little snippet here that's going to glue on right there. So put that on. And I think for now, no, this one's up higher and this is here, but I didn't want to go down real low. I guess I should have moved it down further, but I'm okay with that. Then I also decided, since I added paper here on these little bits, that I need to add paper here. So I cut these to fit 3/8 by 4 7/8. So I've got one for each side. So I'm going to glue those on real quick. Oops. And for now, I think the inner side of this is going to be probably done. And so then I'm going to start working on and planning what I want to do for my cover. I am going to use some metal gears and things, washers, what have you, on that. And of course, like I said, I'm going to show you how to put the closure, the magnetic closure on. Okay, so we've got that. So that's the inside. So we have all this in here. This glues on pretty quickly with the glue. Flip that up. We've got the little pocket thingies here. This lifts up. Got the little tag. I love that. Little booklet in here. And then that opens up. We've got the tuck spot up in there. Got the pocket here. So yeah, I like how it turned out. Looks really cute. So okay, my camera went really crazy and just did something where it turned off and I didn't notice it. I mean, it turned off the microphone. So I'm going to do a voiceover to show you how to do this closure piece. My voice and what I'm doing on the screen may not match up always. So anyway, we have the triple thickness of cardstock and the double thickness of patterned paper. What I did is
I worked with this to bend it. It's really thick, but that's how I wanted it so it doesn't tear, because it's going to get a lot of opening and closing. So you want it curved like this. So take a tool that has a curved, rounded handle, and you're going to put it inside here. Now you want your magnet on the inside that we've already put on there. So something like this, and just shape the closure piece around that so that it's got a rounded spine, if you will, if you want to call it that, there on the side. So you want it like that. And then here on the front, we have the magnet already in. So I'm going to take that closure and we're going to attach it to the front of the book. We're going to let the magnet grab just like that. So when the magnet attaches down, that's where you know it's going to go, and that's where you will glue the back part. So you want to make sure that the magnet on the inside here attaches to the magnet on the front of your cover, and then kind of make sure you get it straight, and then you're going to put glue underneath here to attach this down. So I'm holding it with one of my fingers underneath just to make sure that the magnet stays in place. Put a good amount of glue here, and then you're going to press that down and hold it to secure it in place. So that's how you put this on. And the reason I waited until after I had my pages done on the inside is in case I needed to make it a little looser, you know, move it closer to the edge on the back or not. So I'm just going to make sure it sticks really good and let that dry. So next I'm ready to decorate the front of this. I'm just going to use different things, elements here that you see on my desk. I have some keys. I don't know if I'll use one of those on the front or not, or tied around the spine. I have a good assortment of gears in my stash here, different metal elements that I may use. I will probably decorate the closure piece as well as on the cover. So I'm just going to lay them out and play around with them and glue them on. Now I am not going to go into detail about the decorating of the cover step by step. What I'm going to do is speed up the video so that you can just watch my process rather than me telling you every little thing that I'm doing, because sometimes I change my mind and want to do something else. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to click on speed up for the video and add the music so that you can just watch what I'm doing, and then at the end I'll show you more details about what I've done.
So I've got my desk cleaned off, and I want to flip through this real quick and show you the finished little mini album. It is 4.5 by 5.5 and has a 1/2-inch spine. And you see here I wrapped some of the button twine, jute twine string in the brown around the 1/2-inch spine and tied it up here in a bow, and then added this clock key. And here I've added some Prima flowers left over from another design team package from Country Craft Creations. These are Farm Sweet Farm. I thought these colors were really close, worked really well with this. So I did a cluster of the 2 large ones in a small, and then a small one over here. These are gears from a stash, and of course the Tim Holtz gauge, and the one of the little bits from that package that I had. And of course I did a button string jute bow here as well. And I just stacked and layered these. So this is how it looks on the back. And then this lifts up with a magnet closure. And then this opens up. And inside here we have this front piece where I just did the 2 belly bands. You can tuck something underneath. I don't have a card here handy. Never have anything handy to show you. Anyway, slide in if you want to. I use the 2 Tim Holtz pieces here, and then this opens up. So we have a little corner tuck spot here with a tag, and this one has a element here and a gauge, and this one has a gauge that you can tuck underneath. And this little photo mat I use for my stash a clock piece, because there's a clock there in the back. So this is another tuck spot. And then this is a pocket here with a little booklet. It just opens up. You can put a couple little photos in there. Another gear from my stash, and then this piece from Tim Holtz. And then it opens up again. You can put photos anywhere you want to in here. This has a little pocket. I have a gear back here, another one of those pieces, and I made a little tag and added from my stash another little clock. And here we have a tuck spot from the top. You can put underneath there. So that is my little Steampunk Father's Day album using Country Craft Creations exclusive paper collection, Gentleman Fleur in the 8x8 size. I'll put a link to the products that are available in the store down below. I have lots of this paper left over in the 8x8 size, so I will be making another Steampunk mini album or folio larger than this one for those of you who love steampunk. It's a lot of fun to work with, and I love the looks of it, so it's always been one of my favorites. So anyway, thank you so much for watching my tutorial. If you haven't already, please click on subscribe and then the bell so you'll be notified of my next video. Give me a thumbs up and check out countrycraftcreations.com for your crafting supplies. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.